there's young people watching you. You know, there's people that are looking up to you. There's community members that are trying to build with you. So you got to show up. So I think just constantly I'm reminded of that. And I think when you're on your journey, you will.
Yeah.
Like when you're on that road, you will.
It'll reveal itself.
Always. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please?
Are you ready? Are you ready?
Yo, what up? It's your boy Rubino.
And this DJ in the building.
And you listening to the UpNUp Podcast.
Yeah.
Wait, what are we doing?
I don't know, just listen.
Yes. Welcome.
What it do?
Ladies and gentlemen, you're tuned into the UpNUp Podcast. I'm your host, Rubino.
And I'm DJ man.
What's up, dog?
What's going on?
How you doing?
I'm good, bro.
You
How are you?
good? I'm good, bro. I'm doing well, feeling blessed,
Yeah.
right? It's a beautiful night.
Mhm.
Man, it feels good to be back in the studio, right?
Yeah.
I feel like we've been gone for a little
We have been.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit, yeah.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
I see you rocking a little cashmere sweater over there.
Come on,
you
man.
know,
Come
came
on,
back
man.
looking right. Okay.
All
All
right.
everybody in the building doing good. Team in here. Yes. And if this is your first time tuning in, this is the UpNUp Podcast. This is the podcast where we're focused on cultivating culture, right? We're here to provide a space for individuals, groups, movements, right?
Yep.
Hustlers,
Yep,
movers,
yep.
shakers, right?
Yep.
People who are out here really just carving lanes for themselves, as well as people who are coming behind them, right? First and foremost, I do want to make sure we shout out all the consistent supporters and listeners of not just the podcast, but the platform as a whole, right?
Yeah.
As well as the guests we have on this show. Thank you guys for the support. If you want to continue supporting the podcast, you know what to do. You can find all the episodes on YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes, Spotify. What else, bro? Man, we're not on TikTok.
Everywhere,
We should try
yeah.
TikTok too. We should check that out. But all that, go look us up, the UpNUp Podcast. That's where you can tap in. Make sure to rate, review, subscribe. Also follow us on social media if you're not already at _the UpNUp.
Yep.
Stay tapped in. We got a lot of great things coming. Yeah, man, I'm feeling good. But before we get the show on the road, we discussed this as well, but we definitely want to make sure we take some time to acknowledge the victims of the tragic incident that occurred on January 26th. The victims and their families as well were all affected, as well as a lot of people around the world. And so we want to take some time to just acknowledge the names of those people, including Kobe and Gianna Bryant, John Altobelli, Carrie Altobelli, Alyssa Altobelli, Christina Mauser, Sarah and Peyton Chester, and Ara Zabayan. We, here at the team, everybody in the room, we want to make sure we send our prayers, thoughts, and love, and just good energy to the families, distant and immediate, who are affected by that. It's definitely been a tough month for sure. The month of January, I can say that for sure. The start of the year has been tough. And even right now, a lot of talk has been around the basketball world losing one of the greatest to ever do it in Kobe Bryant. I know a lot of us here grew up, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like grew up under that, and being somewhat raised by that guy, in terms of just when it came to the sport, so definitely want to just kind of take a second to acknowledge the legacy, man. Like, I know you always rooted against the Lakers, bro, but
Yeah.
if you could talk about kind of like what Kobe's legacy meant to you, what would you say?
It was crazy because, I rooted against him, but I always respected him, and no matter how many times I rooted against him, I don't remember one time where I said he was weak, So even when he left the game and everything, I felt like basketball was still missing something, and I wasn't even a fan of his game or whatever, and I was like, damn, that's the crazy impact to have, you know. So even the way he approached the game, the way he attacked life, bro, like it's just like inspiring, you know. So
no, I agree, bro.
Yeah,
I think you touched on it. For me personally, like I always say like the game of basketball is what introduced me to Kobe Bryant. But I always say the game of life, the bigger game of life, is what really connected me to just, on a deeper level, to the way he moved, the way he, like you said, the way he just lived his life, you know what I mean? And things he taught us. I always saw him as like a teacher from afar,
Yeah.
And one thing I would definitely want to say, if I talked about the memories and the way I felt about you know, Kobe, we'd probably have to get some sleeping bags in this room. We're going to be here all night.
Yeah.
But one thing I definitely just want to touch on is the Mamba mentality, right? You know, it's obviously the Mamba mentality has been a thing for a while now. And if it's not before, it definitely will be now. I mean, it means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And for me, I definitely want to take a chance to just kind of provide a message in terms of what it always meant to me, how I always took the Mamba mentality and applied it to my life. And the way I looked at it was, you know, I feel like all pain and resistance has a purpose. You know what I mean? I think even if it's uninvited, unannounced, unreasoned, you know, there's a purpose for that, you know? And I feel like when I used to see Kobe and how he approached the Mamba mentality, it was him never running from that pain. You know what I mean? Never turning away from it, never ignoring it, never neglecting it, and more so using that pain. You know what I mean? Using it to your benefit, because the overall goal is to grow as a human being and evolve, you know, and get yourself to that next place. So when I think Mamba mentality, I think about even in times of pain and sorrow, right? It's important to embrace that and really settle in that pain and use it, right? Use it to your advantage. Don't let the pain use you, but you got to use that pain. And so I just kind of wanted to drop that message for people out there who, you know, who are clearly hurting right now and need that healing. Is, you know, I think when it comes to the Mamba mentality, that's what it's about. Facing that pain face to face and using it to your advantage to evolve and grow to that next point. Yeah, man. But yeah, man. So just definitely wanted to, again, you know, prayers, thoughts, love to everybody affected, but more importantly, the families of all the victims. And now, man, you know, in the spirit of the Mamba mentality, right? You know, we're gonna continue, right? We're gonna continue pushing. We're gonna continue grinding. And for those who are first time listeners to the show, we definitely make it a point to bring guests on our show who identify with just that mentality of carving that lane, continuously pushing, grinding, staying on the up and up, and really just trying to make a name for themselves. I would say today's guest is a woman whose work and efforts have been filled with a tremendous amount of determination, just from what I've been able to witness from afar. She's a true culture cultivator who's keeping everything she's doing on the up and up. To give you a little bit more insight on the work she's been doing here in the Pacific Northwest, she's the founder and director of Nurturing Roots Farm, which is located in Seattle's Beacon Hill neighborhood. To give you some insight, Nurturing Roots is committed to addressing food justice issues in the community, as well as enriching underserved communities as well. I think we should just get straight to it, right? Our guest is none other than the woman who's loyal to the soil.
Hey,
yeah, you like
South.
that one?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, loyal to the soil. It's a double entendre.
I like
if you
that.
caught that.
I like that.
Our guest is none other than the very own Nyema Clark. Can we get a round of applause? Yeah. Welcome to the show.
That was a great introduction.
Thank you.
Man.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man.
Sure.
Yeah, pleasure's ours for sure.
Right on. Thank you.
So to kind of give you some insight on the show, we usually start the show off with a quote of the day.
Cool.
You know, kind of get the vibe right, get the convo started. You know what I mean? I don't got the quote because I'm not allowed to tell the quotes on the show, clearly.
Okay.
So I'm going to let quote man over here take that.
All right. So the quote of the day is, the most important thing is to try and inspire people so that they can be great in whatever they want to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everyday quote. I like that one.
Yeah, I think we know who said that one.
Yeah. Kobe.
Black Mamba.
Nice.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, that's powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know those quotes, man. You know what I mean? You're going to know that quote for a long time. But run it back for those who may have heard it for the first time.
Yep. So the quote is, the most important thing is to try to inspire people so that they can be great in whatever they want to do.
That's real.
Yeah.
You can't control people, but you can inspire them.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That's real.
You know.
I like that.
Trying to make them do better.
Yeah.
Do better than they were before, you know, so.
That's real. So Nyema, before we get into, because obviously, you know, we're going to discuss a lot of what you're currently doing and the work you've been doing and you know, and the things that you have established thus far. But, you know, the show is definitely about taking it back to the roots and kind of the roots, right? The roots and where it started. But before we get to that, I definitely just want to give you a chance, you know, to kind of share, if you can, what is the mission of Nurturing Roots from your point of view and your perspective and your team's perspective, for those who aren't familiar, if you can kind of share with us.
Right on. So our mission definitely is, like you said, around sustainable agriculture, awareness about food justice. So really, I think a lot of folks in our community don't necessarily know what's at stake, what systems are perpetuating these disadvantages that unfortunately we find ourselves in. So Nurturing Roots is really about identifying and shedding light on the food justice issues, and then also showing you what other institutions are kind of infiltrating our community. Yeah, so a lot of our workshops are based around, you know, how institutions, say a prison system, can benefit from you being unhealthy, or how, you know, a healthcare system will benefit from you eating McDonald's. So finding ways that you can link those systems and then identifying those in young people usually will create this self-awareness that will carry them throughout life.
That's
so
real.
I think food justice is one of those things we don't often get a chance to engage in school. It's not something that's, you know, up front, but it's like health has to get deeper than, you know, I
That's
don't know,
real.
Flash. It's like way deeper than that.
Yeah, it's not just about getting a quick bite to eat and just keeping your day going. That's real.
Yeah.
It gets deep, for real.
Definitely.
Now, and thank you for sharing that. Now, let's take it back though. Let's take it back to kind of the early start. So your hometown, you grew up out here in Seattle, right? South Seattle to be exact.
End, yes.
Okay, well, tell the people a little bit about that. How was it growing up out here for you, and kind of trying to find yourself out here in the South Seattle area?
So South Seattle, I had a good neighborhood. I had a good group of kids that I hung out with. So we were always at the park or going downtown, catching the bus. So for me, it was a life of adventure. It was a life of creativity. I think we were doing lemonade stands and adding hibiscus, or, you know, trying to just upsell so we could make that extra money for the ice cream man or whatever.
Hustlers.
So yeah, from a young age, I feel like I've always wanted to kind of do it myself. My mom, she was in the movement, so she was young when the Black Panthers were organizing here in the CD, but just her carrying that forward, I think it always put that, you know, Black power like movement inside of me. So I think just growing up, you know, that's what I was developing. When I got to high school, I think I was just lost in the high school I went to Beach. So for us, it was about sports. I was a cheerleader, so it was like popularity was my number one thing. It wasn't necessarily social justice. A little bit after that, I think I just got into looking at all the conspiracies that were going on.
Got you.
A lot of the disparities that I would see, just like bee colony collapse, seeing how our water systems are all messed up. Like everything I was just looking at and learning.
Open-minded.
It slowly, it transitioned. I got into a little scuffle with my homegirl, unfortunately.
Wow.
So that got me a record. And so having to struggle with that as a young adult also, I think it just turned me into this, you know, hustler that had to just do it on her own.
Wow.
Kind of like figuring out a way that you could empower yourself to create that financial stability that you need. Because a lot of times I would get turned away. Jobs were, oh, you got a background, sorry.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I think it was just natural because I just wanted to do it myself so bad.
Yeah.
I didn't go to college, so even that, it was like I didn't have this degree to pull along. I just had to, you know, lace up my boots and kind of do it. So
yeah, and be resourceful.
Right.
And figure it out.
Yeah.
That's dope.
So I guess, I mean, you touched on it a little bit, but what were some of like the sparks that kind of made you interested in like food justice?
Man. So I think it was the opportunity, but I was able to kind of get the knowledge by growing herbs and growing culinary herbs at Pike Place.
Okay.
And after having that business for a while, I knew how to grow plants. And then it was almost like I had become one. I hate to say that, but it was almost like it was a part of me at that point. So I wanted to figure out how other plants grew. Me and the homie were pretty much crossbreeding different things and trying to, you know, add this trait to this plant and trying to see what that would be like. So I think I was just getting so in depth with it. I just moved into produce. It was only natural that I just got into growing food. And things that we could actually eat, and then seeing where, you know, I could make seasonings and add value, but I could make a tomato sauce, or I could go to the market and really add value because now they're looking at it as an organic thing. So I think it was just seeing, you know, how you could impact the community, one, by providing this substance, but also how I could empower myself financially.
Yeah. And I think you touched on something right there as well. Like, how can you empower yourself financially? Because I think growing up, you know, as kids, you know, you're trying to find your niche, right? You're trying to find what you like to do.
Yeah.
But then in the back of your mind, parents are like, well, how are you going to make money doing that, right? Because at the end of the day, that's what we're taught it's all about.
Exactly.
Until you know, kind of learn through experience, right? That you can actually live a better life, a more sustainable life, and not just fully dependent on trying to get the bag, right?
Come on.
Find
And that's
something
not
that fits.
easy.
Yeah, no, for
Not
sure.
easy.
Especially as a kid growing up, like, it's tough. Like, I think we've all had our fair share of, influences,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah,
I guess
for
I can
sure.
say that.
Yeah.
Right.
No, definitely. Yeah, and I think at what point would you say like you kind of fully shifted your focus though? You know, because it's like one thing to be dibbling, dabbling. As you're getting older, you're trying new things. You know, you might play sports, and then you might, you know, do band, and you might do this, and then.
Yeah.
But at what point were you like, all right, I need to just tuck all that to the side and then focus on this? Was there like a moment in time that you can remember, or?
I think it was a progression because I definitely had my share of going to work. You know, I was tired of it, but I stayed with it. Here I am 3 years later. Am I going to stay here or not? So I think it was a process of, you know, finding jobs. I didn't work out. I didn't want to be there. So then had to try something new.
Yeah.
So my last job was at the West End. So I was in hospitality.
Okay.
And for me, that was like so subservient. Like I felt like it was just another part of me just getting stripped. Already my time was taken, already my energy, and now you guys are taking my dignity. Like to me, it was too much. So I think being there, it also empowered me to just try to get out. I think a lot of mentors that were there was a chef that, you know, I would just sit on my lunch break and he would sit and talk to me about my dream, which was, I want to open this farm. Would you ever buy produce from me if I was, you know, doing this? And I know they were buying from WSU at the time, and I was thinking, you know, what would it take? So then talking to different colleagues in the community that were social justice organizers, it's like, well, what does it take to have a nonprofit? So I think it was the progression of, you know, them also saying you can do it, me being fed up, but that was about 9 years ago now.
Wow.
And Nurturing Roots is 5 years old.
Wow.
So for me, it was like I knew that I wanted it, and I just had to get there, make myself, you know, financially stable enough to trust myself.
Yeah.
But there were times when it was like struggle. You don't got no money.
Yeah, but
you
that's
got to
what it's
figure
about.
it out.
But
you know
what you said, trust yourself.
Yes,
like I think
you have
that's.
to.
It sounds simple, but
Yeah.
it can be hard for a lot of people. You know.
Right. And I
Yeah.
think it's because we have so many things to depend on.
Yeah.
Like when you don't have anything, like a lot of the folks that we work with, we're doing a lot of prison advocacy. So when you're in prison and you're there for 10 years, that's all you know is what you've been able to, you know, open yourself up to, because they're not going to feed you, literally and figuratively. But I think when you're in prison, you only have yourself. So you can empower yourself by literature. You can, you know, expand as much as you can. And then you can benefit yourself and impact yourself in ways that you couldn't out here because you have all the outside noise. You have all the outside influence. So I think of that moment where, too, it's like incarceration, it gives you that moment where you can't do it out here. It's too loud. Too many alarms going off, too many deadlines, you know.
No, that's real.
It's crazy.
That's real.
So, and you touched on this a little bit, but you know, obviously being an entrepreneur is not really easy. Like when you go into it or whatever. So, how did you overcome like some of your obstacles that you went through like early?
Man. So I'm thinking about obstacles. I think finances, I definitely just cut back on my spending. I wasn't going to the mall. I think now I just am not very materialistic. So Goodwill has been my best friend.
Yeah.
But
They got some good stuff.
right, come on, everything
For
good.
real.
They do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So anyways, being able to just adapt in that way, my spending, I think also mentally, I know I needed to be able to get my mind set for those days where I couldn't go to the whoever's party. I couldn't go to Miami, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that too, getting yourself prepared for you're going to get it and it's later. So right now it's not this, it's not the instant gratification,
Yeah.
but just like plants. So I think also just mimicking nature, just realizing you need certain things and you want certain things. So what are your needs and your wants? And then also, you know, how is this going to benefit you in the long run? So I think once you identify necessities, it's like you just get back to basics.
Exactly.
It's really easy after that.
I think we grow up thinking that we need so much to do so much, and it's not really true. Like when I mean us, I mean like as individuals. You know what I mean? Like a business needs some things, you know, resources. But as an individual person, it's like, you know, like did he have that quote where he's like throw me, or on the movie Notorious where he's like, if you throw me in a jungle, I'll come out with a chinchilla coat or some shit. Like it's like the mentality of like I'm all I need.
Right.
Period. You know what I mean? And I'll be fine no matter where I'm at.
Come on.
What's in front of me, who, what, where, I don't care, right? That's dope. That's dope.
It's so true.
I'm curious
Everybody.
though. I'm curious about, so in starting Nurturing Roots, starting a business, right? Like Erm said, you're gonna have struggles early on. But one thing I know I could say, especially for us with the UpNUp, is we're very attached to our why, you know, and the impact in which we're trying to make. And I'm kind of curious for you in doing the work and kind of going through the struggles. was there a moment when that why or impact revealed itself when you were like, see, that's why we're doing this shit? Because I know we've had people who reached out after a certain episode and said this, that, and the third, or they got, they learned this from it, and it was like, see, that's the why,
Yeah.
Do you have a moment like that?
I have a few. It's so crazy.
Okay.
The serendipity of it all. But there was a moment where I used to be in theater, so for me, I thought I was going to be an actress. So I would, like practice my signature all the time. And it was like, dang, I just want to do my autograph one time. So at a UW, actually, when I met him, a little girl asked me for my autograph after that panel. And it was like, what? So that was a moment where I found, okay, I was practicing for this, this professional, stature.
Yeah.
And then I think just in general, the reception that I get all around the country, it's like when I go to New York, people have heard of Avenue South or heard of Nurturing Roots, or they've been waiting to meet me, or somebody from the city is like, yeah, we've been looking for Black farmers. We really wanted to, be able to identify Black farmers aside from immigrant African farmers. So you're the only one we know. Like, just hearing those things, it's like, dang, I guess I am, the one that's supposed to be doing this, I guess. So I think just, the constant reception that I get, opportunities like this, when people, you never know who's watching you. So I know my mom always used to say that, but I never really felt it. I always thought, okay, that means somebody might whoop me. I got to be on my best behavior. But no, it really means like there's young people watching you. There's people that are looking up to you. There's community members that are trying to build with you. So you got to show up. So I think just constantly I'm reminded of that. And I think when you're on your journey, you will. Yeah. Like when you're on that road, you will.
It'll reveal itself.
Always, yeah.
In a lot of forms.
Yeah. So I always ask this question, but it's kind of self-explanatory too when I think about it now, but how'd you come up with the name?
Nurturing Roots?
Yeah.
Hey. And that's the thing, it's so crazy. So a partner of mine, he mentioned Nurturing Roots in one of his, like, a thesis. And I was like, are you going to do anything with it? Like, it was a fake program. Are you going to do it? But also Roots. I mean, like, looking at your logo, it's like Roots.
Yeah.
Everybody somehow remembers, Roots are... Oh man, I could go on forever because I'm a plant person. Roots are the most important, right?
Yeah.
Roots are one of the most important things aside from the seed. So being able to feed you, it seeks nutrients. It's the the first thing that the plant puts out to have life. So definitely nurturing those roots in so many facets. I felt like it was more than food. It was nurturing our cultural roots. It's nurturing, our geographical roots. Like for me in the South End, a lot of people are displaced. So I had to nurture the roots in the South End. So yeah, that's where nurturing roots, and it just stuck.
That's real.
Yeah.
That's real. I love hearing
I love the name.
Yeah,
I'll say that.
And I love hearing the symbolism behind people's logos and like their names for their brands and stuff, because I think that's important too,
Yes.
And that's why it takes people a little bit of time to come up with their brand names and whatnot. Like,
it does.
Because if someone asks you, boom.
Okay.
Right.
Same thing, Avenue South. People ask me, like, Avenue South, and it's like, well, people from the South End get it, you know?
Yeah.
But Avenue South is like every street in the South End.
Okay, can you explain kind of what Avenue South is in because I know it's not the same thing as Nurturing Roots. It's like something else, right? So,
right.
What would you say, or how would you describe Avenue South?
Yeah, so Avenue South is the for-profit. So Nurturing Roots is a nonprofit.
Got it.
Avenue South is a for-profit natural and culinary herb product line. So we make body products, like different body butters if you have eczema. So really good healing properties in both the food and the body products. So Avenue South was a spinoff of the business that I had at Pike Place. But Avenue South has been around probably 7 years now. Okay. And it's a household name. A lot of people love the seasoning. So for me, it's like...
Yeah, you dropped off some stuff for us.
Come on. Yes, sure. Try it. I laced you off with, Seward Park Kanye pepper.
Kanye pepper.
Yes.
Not cayenne pepper.
Right. A lot of people are like, you need to name it the old Kanye pepper. I'm like, all right, y'all.
Nah, that's I might mean change it's expired.
Right?
I need that new
that's
Kanye
I'm like,
pepper.
I need everybody to get it. Have a wide market. But yeah, and then Purple Rain. So I named those also after people that I admired. You know, the hood. Seward Park, I have one, Ginger Hendrix.
Yeah, that's dope.
So yeah, it's all about just bringing back home.
Hell yeah. No, that's dope. And because you know, having I guess multiple businesses, you know, isn't easy. Right. I guess for those people out there who want to do so much, you know, who want to start a clothing line, but at the same time they want to start a nonprofit or whatever the case is. Do you have advice for how to juggle the two?
Ooh.
Or what's the best tips you'd give people to like do two things at once, or even more than two things at once?
Yes. I'd say look at the people around you. A lot of what I had to do was kind of identify how my support system could work for me. There were certain people that I would probably procrastinate with. So I had to identify who those were and what that was. So I couldn't do that. There was also things where, like, again, getting your mind wrapped around the fact that you might be broke. You might not have everything that you're used to having, but that is where you're supposed to be. Like being excited almost. Not excited that you're broke, but excited that you're not going to be broke because now, you know.
It's a challenge, man.
Right?
I like a challenge.
So yeah, that, and then definitely just looking at your work ethic. Like, don't try to do something that you can't do. Like, if you're not a hooper, stop it. If you're not a rapper, stop. Like, there's a lot of people who are just searching for a skill set because of something else. It's like, look inside of you. What are you talented at? What can you do with your eyes closed? You know, and what could you do for 1,000,000 years? That's real. That's what you should be doing. But
that's facts.
Yeah.
I told myself I'm not a rapper. And I haven't rapped since. Well, actually, I be ciphering here and there, you know what I mean? But like, I told myself this is not a career for me. That's what I told myself.
Good. As long as it's a hobby, it's cool.
Yeah, no, but like you said, it's important though. Why are you laughing?
Because he's been wanting you to say it, I think.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, think so.
It's over, guys.
Man.
I hung it up. I'm retired. I am not a rapper.
This is the only time you've been vulnerable about this.
Come on, man. It's just, you know. Well, shit, we sharing shit? Okay.
That's the first step.
No, I'm playing. Bro.
Nah, but I like that because I think it's important for people to, because it saves you time first and foremost to just make decisions like, this ain't for me, so let me find that next thing that's for me instead of just sitting on it because it feels comfortable or I don't know.
Yeah. And all right, so I guess it's just time to kind of educate myself too. But a lot of the times we're told don't eat McDonald's because it's bad, and we just know that, but we don't really know. So I guess my question would be like, what's the pros of having like organic, healthy food compared to like processed food and everything like that? So.
Yes. So there's many, I'd say, the health aspects and health benefits. If your body is looking for something in your food, because that's why we eat food, to nurture our bodies. If your body is looking for something in the food, how dare you give it a fake substance? It's almost like I'm looking for C, but McDonald's made this thing that looks like a C. It's like a C, and it'll eat that, assuming that it's C, but it's not. So then, of course, it will not benefit you because it is a fake substance. So I look at organic as a way to mitigate that. Your body is going to get what it needs. Also, depending on where you're getting your organic, it may not be organic. So I think being able to grow your own food is almost a step further than going to PCC or Whole Foods. And it's a lot more affordable.
Got it.
So I look at, organic, depending on where you're getting it, it can be more affordable. It can be more healthy for you. And also it doesn't have fake substances. So a lot of times you'll go to McDonald's, like I think French fries have 10 ingredients. It's like, how? It's a potato and salt. Crazy. But there's so many additives in different flavors that you're susceptible to. And flavors are nothing more than chemical mixtures that taste like a banana. Yeah.
I'm curious too, how much of it do you think is just pure consumer habits and then the need for like wanting healthy foods? Because I think there's a lot of people who want to eat healthy, but then they're just like, it's just easier to go to the store and get what I need and leave.
I hear you.
So how do you combat that, or how do you? That's a really loaded question.
Accessibility. Accessibility is a real thing. Because like we were talking about when you said time earlier, I was going to say that's the one thing you can't get back. So when you think about, okay, do I have the time to sit here and wait for my tomatoes? You may not. So I think it's identifying what is important to you. Your time on this earth will be prolonged if you're healthier. If you understand what makes you healthy, then you understand your food has to get you there. That's right. So I think it's part of that is education. And then part of that is realizing that you owe it to yourself. Like if you really care about yourself, why would you harm yourself? But a lot of people don't know I'm putting poison in my body. A lot of people don't know my heart could only take 1,500 of these burgers and I'll die. And I'm not saying that is real. I'm just saying, putting it in that perspective. People counting out here. People like literally. Okay. Last month. But no, it's like if you knew it like that, and if you identified it that well, and you were that educated, then you wouldn't do it. It's just like hurting yourself intentionally. Nobody wants to. That's right. I think a lot of times when people are even addicted to opioids, it's like you were helping yourself, and then now you're harming, but you still need it now because you don't know what else to do. So I think about the same thing. Like I've definitely, people ask me, are you vegan? It's like, no, I'm not vegan. You know, I haven't cut out meat, but I try to be more intentional about where my meat, comes from. And also trying to produce more healthy. So not cooking the nutrients out of my food, but realizing you can have an organic, you know, piece of kale and you can cook all the nutrients out of it and it's nothing.
Yeah.
So I think just all of that, it has to do with the preparation, it has to do with, you know, the process. And then also it just has to do with your educating yourself.
That's real.
Yeah. I feel like the faster it is, the more unhealthy it is.
Yeah.
So it's like you
Most
said,
times.
if you got to watch some like fruit or veggies grow, then it's most likely going to be more healthy for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then also your perception of fast. I can
Yeah.
go to my garden, pick a piece of lettuce and eat it. It's the fastest. Now going to the store is different, but also I feel like, you know, when there's big recalls, you have more control over that too. I didn't have a recall on my lettuce.
Gotcha.
When the Snowmageddon came, I still had everything.
Okay.
So yeah.
So to for someone, first of all, I applaud your effort in just number one, utilizing a piece of land the way you're using it, you know?
Thank you.
Because, you know, people be like, oh, let me just go build some rental properties on this land and I'm going to eat that way, right?
Yeah.
But I think what you're doing is a win-win for everybody in the situation. So how can we change the narrative around farming to like, because I see it as agricultural ownership. Like I see it as like, you know, the same way people look at like real estate people, like, oh, they're owners, they, you know, they own properties, and it's like they applaud that. Like, why aren't we applauding the farmers?
Yeah.
And so I don't know if you have any tips on that, but I would love to find ways to make it cool, you know, and like really change that narrative, because that shit's cool to me. I'm not knowledgeable. You know, I need to get knowledgeable and educate myself, but I see it from a different angle, I guess. But
no, I hear you.
how do we do that? I don't know.
Man, I deal with a lot of folks that, you know, definitely African Americans who associate farming with slavery. So I think there's many different layers. There are folks that are from the continent Africa and they realize that that was a way of life. So then they honor it differently. So I think it all depends on where you're from. Also, I've learned that when you get people to the farm, because there's a certain amount of my friends that definitely like my photos. They'll like them all, but they would never step foot or put their hands in the dirt. So I think it's when they get there. A lot of times young people, it's when they can engage with my chickens. A lot of time it's when they can see, oh, a carrot, and they pull it out. So really it's identifying where something hits you and finding your humanity again. And often you have to get past the superficial. My homegirl got to get past her nails getting dirty. You know, you got to get past all those things. And it's almost like it unlocks something. All of us looking at plants, you can tell if a plant is dying. Like something like that, it's not taught. You didn't go to school and someone taught you. It's because you can see it. We are trained, I guess, we are trained to be able to identify plants and to be able to forage for ourselves.
Yeah. They're living creatures just like us.
Come on. They had to teach us to read numbers in the supermarket, but going out into the garden, you can tell what looks good and what's bad. So yeah, for me,
wow.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, I could go on forever.
No, that's real. we're very detached.
Yeah.
When you think about it.
But it's the humanity. Like a lot of it, like just even seeing how plants grow. Like I have a few videos that are time lapse and you see how beans grow. And I don't know if I can just do it really quick. So there's a beanstalk here and you got beans going. They're trying to find something to hook onto. This one hooks on and this one starts doing this. And it will not hook onto the pole with this bean sprout. Tomatoes do the same thing. They will never grab the same pole. It's like they want to survive, or they want to, you know, be able to not infiltrate someone else's space. Like it's like everything is growing and living to actually survive and then give to their seeds. The plants are growing so that, you know, dandelions, they just want to grow to get their seeds out. Everything wants to do that. We are the ones that want to be really cool, you know?
No, that's real.
It's
I saw an interview a long time ago with Eddie Griffin, the comedian, and he was drinking, he was drunk, but he said some deep shit. He was talking about how he said humans are the only species that are able to manipulate their environment. Unlike any animals, plants, they can't do it. You know, like we can build structures and machines that could just tear down a rainforest. You know, so he was speaking to that. That's probably why the fact that we can change things when we want to, like at a snap of a finger, is why we're not just, you know, naturally living
evolving.
The way exactly.
We don't evolve. We're devolving. Almost.
That's real.
So
that's real.
Let's say I wanted to like I guess, start my own farm.
Yes.
And I was like, Nyema, how do I do this? Like, how much land would I need or something like that? What would you tell me?
Man, I have a 1/4 acre. I have folks, depending on what you want to start. So growing your own food, you don't need much. You can have a balcony in Seattle. A lot of what we teach at Nurturing Roots is the perception of even farming is insane. The fact that you think you need 1 million acres to produce one crop is insane. So we produce almost 80 different varieties on a 1/4 acre lot in South Seattle. So I'd say depending on what you want to grow, if you want to have things perpetually growing, you could do lettuce, cut up the top or peel the leaves around the lettuce and it keeps going. You know, different things like celery, your onions. If you want to restart those in your kitchen window, you could do that.
Yeah.
So depending on how much you want to produce, but a small family, like with a average size backyard, you could have stuff going. Yeah. Also high density crops. So I plant things closer together. There's a lot of nice manicured, really beautiful, I think Eurocentric type growing styles where it's about, again, looking cool. But for me, it's like I'm going to grow these as close as I can because I need the space.
Yeah.
So,
You got to maximize.
right.
Yeah. And what are some roadblocks that some people may find themselves seeing on this journey of trying to go into farming, right? You just said you had a 1/4 acre.
Yeah.
Okay, so to get that, I mean, I'm
Yes.
sure no one just handed that to you.
No. And in Seattle, I'm leasing.
Okay.
So Seattle, a 1/4 acre, just to put it in perspective right now, that's valued at $900,000. I saw a property out in Auburn, 38 acres. It was $1 million. So I'm thinking, you know, in South Seattle, it's crazy, but 38 acres compared to this 1/4 is a big difference.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So depending on where you want to be, of course, and then also accessing different loans, what we've found as people of color and a lot of my African farmers that have immigrated here, they have an experience from home. But here, the financial markets do not identify that as a revenue stream.
Gotcha.
It was a backyard. You guys were just growing food and going to your neighborhood market.
Gotcha.
You were not a business. Whereas they've been growing.
Yeah.
Their family's been growing. You know,
Yeah.
grandparents, they know what they're doing. So
Yeah.
for me, I think there's that divide where you have to be prepared to kind of show and prove. Even more so, being a person of color, and then also just land access. I found so many white farmers that have the land, and they got 100 acres, and they don't really want to do the business anymore, so they're going to sell to developers. And it's like, that's great, but the access to capital is something.
Yeah.
So if you want to find farming, you may be leasing for a while, knowing that.
Okay.
And also just knowing, you know, there are certain crops that you can make money from, and there are certain crops you will chase your tail. So identifying what markets you should get into, and then making it sustainable, because eventually that will be the goal of most farmers. I always think about different, you know, Armageddon movies or zombie films. It's like everyone's going to need to be this way. So, you know, being able to identify how this can strengthen the economy, the greater economy, I think also. But I don't know, when you're farming, just get out there and start growing.
Got you.
And if it's for profit, just make sure that you check out the markets first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I didn't even know all those words existed in farming. I'm gonna be honest. I'm learning right now. No, I'm being real. You know, like you know, it's a business, but again, like to the typical person, they're not thinking like market research.
Yeah.
When you're thinking farming, what? No, I'm not thinking about market research. But like you said, that's a side of it that needs to be exposed, because then it might get the person who's in college who wants to go into business, instead of just going the traditional corporate route, you know, maybe they'll take their business expertise and put it towards, you know, agriculture.
Exactly.
So I rock with that. That's dope.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
So, okay, you grow your food and all that, and then how do you like get it out there? Like you go to farmers markets and
Yes.
pretty much.
So Nurturing Roots is really a learning garden. We're not a high producing space.
Gotcha.
That's more for the Auburn space that we're eventually going to purchase. But Nurturing Roots, we supply to Cafe Avol right now.
Hey, that's the homie. Shout out.
Yes,
out,
follow
Doobie.
him, right?
Yeah.
We supply different chefs, so Chef Ariel, Chef Tarek. There's Nyala of Sugar Queen Bakery. So there's a few small, you know, retailers and distributors that we give things to. On Sundays, it's really about folks coming out and volunteering and taking some stuff home. And then you also being able to come to the farm and seeing the stuff actually growing.
Yeah.
I believe in also seeing the full life cycle. So like for an onion, we're used to eating the bulb. So we're eating just the bulb and root. The onion grows into having a stalk. The stalk you can use and cook. and then it has seeds and a flower. The flower you can eat, seeds you can replant. So I don't want to pull all my onions, whereas commercial farmers will pull them all out and then just try to reproduce something in the ground that's dead.
Got you.
But being able to even let things die, go through the whole cycle, letting kids come on site and taste a broccoli flower, whereas you're used to tasting the tiny, broccoli stalk.
Yeah.
So all of that stuff, I think it's all about being able to show them. So Nurturing Roots really isn't the profit, but it is,
Mm-hmm.
distributing to a select market, to folks that want to have that local produce.
Yeah. No, that's real. That's real. And I'm excited I'm just excited, number one, just to do my own research.
Come on.
Right? And just get in there and learn a little bit more.
Yes.
I think I just, my ears have been perking up.
I'm
you
like,
can't see
whoa,
it.
they got flowers, everything. I need to go check this out. You know?
Nah. Something I also like to share. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
But, and I just like to share it. I guess I'm in a room full of men, so y'all may not feel me. But chickens, for example, when we talk about we're living to be cool, the chickens do not ovulate in the wintertime. So if it's too cold, the chickens will not have their reproductive cycle and stop laying eggs. Do we all know eggs are unfertilized, right? Just like a woman cycle. But anyways, just thinking of a chicken is feeling, oh, it's too cold. I'm not even going to have any kids. And it's like, we don't even think about the climate. We don't think about we don't think about the pollution.
Yeah.
On Beacon Hill right now, we have the highest rate of diabetes, the highest rate of asthma. And I didn't know that living in the South End. I would see friends with inhalers. It's like, I just thought, honestly, I thought it was cool for a while because they had this extra thing.
Yeah.
But then it was like, damn, there are a lot of people in the South End that had asthma. But now I know it's because of this airport. I didn't know Boeing Field right here was pollution. I remember playing Sim City, not to drop all these names, but Sim City, when you had the industrial place with the airport, it was terrible. The whole corridor, Soto, all of that. It's terrible zone. And we're right there. So we got to eat better. We got to identify where we can do better.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think this episode is definitely going to, you ain't going to force nobody to do nothing, but I guarantee it's going to get people a little bit more excited and a little bit more engaged into just doing some research. I think learning, like you said, like you don't have to, find what works for you in a sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I feel you. I know my mom's gonna love this episode. She got a garden and everything. Shout out, Mom.
She probably been telling you to eat all this stuff all your life.
She has. She be like, I grew that, and I'm like, oh,
amazing.
okay,
You can taste the difference. Have any of y'all gone? And I'm just saying Africa because I see my brothers in here.
Yeah, I've been back home.
Do you notice the difference in the taste of the food?
Yeah,
for sure.
Fruit, all of it, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Meat, everything.
Yeah.
And to me, it's like we don't know that as Americans. A lot of people here, they think they're eating real fruit. They think this is how a banana tastes.
Yeah.
It's like, man, y'all. So even that, it's like I just want more people to even dabble just so they can tell, like, oh, shoot.
Yeah.
Even if you're not growing, just try it.
Just be more aware.
Yeah, because my immediate family, like, is straight up, like, from the villages. So I went, like, farming with my little cousins and everything like that. So it's like, so... Pretty good.
Hell yeah.
Right on.
That's a good perspective to have. Like you getting exposed to that too. So Nyema, before we get you out of here, we usually also let or have our guests kind of speak to some things they may have coming on the horizon, like announcements, things you may want to share. Ways to get people to pull up to the farm.
Hey.
But yeah, if you have anything you want to share, please feel free.
Right on. Well, for sure, follow us. Nurturing Roots Farm. So at Nurturing Roots Farm on Instagram, at Avenue South. Seattle on Instagram. Also, Nurturing Roots, like I said, has been working on a lot of different projects. So we're expanding this year to do more events. So if y'all ever even want to do a live show at the farm, come on, pull up.
Man.
I'm getting a generator.
Never say never.
Come on, right?
Okay.
It would be dope. So
Step closer.
Yes. But Chef Tarek, he always comes out and does a couple midnight Mecca dinners. So
I saw those. Those are dope.
So farm to table dinners, we're hoping to do some more of those. We're gonna get a screen out there, so we're gonna be doing movie nights. So we're gonna try to just engage more folks in those traditional activities on the farm. So kind of getting in there. And also we're doing a lot of prison advocacy. So we just launched a site in collaboration with boundartists.com. And it's pretty much giving an opportunity to folks that are incarcerated to get their art out, get it shown, and sell it online.
Okay.
Yeah, but other than that, we're there Sundays 11 until 3, Beacon Hill. So if y'all ever want to come.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean,
that's
right there.
I'm there. I'm pulling up.
Yes.
I'm pulling up.
Right
no,
on.
for sure.
You got to hold a chicken, too, when you get there.
I'm with it.
It's
I'm
part
with
of
it.
initiation.
As long as it doesn't run from me,
You got to chase it, but.
Okay. We'll see.
chased
I've
before.
been going to the gym lately, man. You know, I ain't no chicken going out around me, bro.
Right.
I ain't letting that happen.
I love it.
Thank you for sharing that. And then we usually always ask this question to all our guests before we end the shows. So if you can, what's one word to describe what keeps you on the up and up?
You could explain it too.
Mm-hmm. Ancestors.
Mm.
But I definitely know someone was thinking about me, and someone was trying to lay the groundwork for us all to be great. So I think that's always what keeps me going, because I'm thinking about my offspring. I'm thinking about what it's going to be like for them. So yeah, ancestors.
I like that.
Yeah, that's the first time we got that too.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's real. That's real. I love that. Thinking, yeah, man, you definitely got to, you know, I think we're all connected generationally. You know, I
Yes.
think sometimes we lose sight of that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's always good to think about that. That's dope.
right.
But yeah, man, Nyema, we're definitely happy that you pulled up.
Thank
you
you.
know, guest on the show, and definitely excited to see what's to come.
Right on.
Right, definitely have
Thank
you know, you got support from all of us in the room.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, man, wishing you success and luck moving forward. Erm, you got anything else you wanna
That's
add?
it, man.
This is a good episode, man.
Yeah.
Feel like we back at it again, you know.
Yeah. I can't wait to try these out. I'll tell you
Yeah.
I
that.
know,
Come
man,
on,
that
yeah.
Kanye
You
pepper.
gotta let me
yeah,
know what you
that-
think.
that Kanye pepper, baby. Come
Yeah.
on, man. Hell
For
yeah.
sure,
But yeah, Nyema, thank you again for
Thank
coming to the
you.
show. I think it's safe to say Nyema Clark's officially and Nurturing Roots are officially members of the Up and Up. Can we get a round of applause?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.